You are watching Conscious Evolution with Wes Heffernan.
It's being expressed in two ways. One's expanded, one's contracted. So when everything overlaps, it's contracted. And when it's contracted, the best way I know to describe this is think of it as a photon.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have a second way of seeing it, and that's expanded, where the circles touch each other. Instead of overlapping, they touch. And so you're expanded out. And now think of it as a proton, right? And so you have these two ways of studying something. One is in action, compressed, that's moving. All the gears are locked together and everything's flowing, right? But you can't study that because you have to put a skin on it and call it something. So like we can't really see this camera operating because it's a camera. Right? And we have faith in all of the metaphysical aspects of this camera that we can't see to operate and function properly so that this camera does its job. And we have complete faith in that. It's no different, right? So inside me, I'm the camera or whatever, right? Like there's me and there's all these other parts that make me that nobody can see, not even me. Right? And that's metaphysics. But then on another level, there's me and everything that I can see, this universal environment that I live in, but like it's such a small portion when you can understand the camera analogy and when you can understand the human analogy, right? It makes it a little easier to put yourself in this place where, okay, so everything I see is just a small portion of the process. It's the end result of the process that's creating everything that I see. And I can choose to zoom in on any individual thing amongst the many things, right? The one and the many. Are you zoomed in? Or are you zoomed out? And if you zoom in, you're a witness. If you zoom out, you're an observer, right? And then whatever it is getting zoomed in or out on is the first person, the action, the thing. And it can be a thing, it can be a noun, it can be a verb, it can be the football game playing. Right, but even with that analogy, what are you watching within that football game? You're watching your son play, no doubt, right? Well, I'm watching the offensive lineman, right? So even within the concept of we all are watching this process, we're each focusing on a different aspect of it, and therefore we're going to hold a different key, a different component, a different packet of I'm going to use that word later, not in this sit down, but a packet of information that's a small portion of representation of the whole truth of what's occurring. And the only way we could understand everything that's going on in that game, is for all the components to share their information freely. They're not their experience, their emotional and mental.
It's funny you say that because when I'm watching my son, I'm actually filming him.
Right.
And I'm zoomed in on him only.
Right.
So I hear the crowd and something could be going on away from where he is because he's chasing a receiver down and I don't know because I'm zoomed in over here.
Right, for sure.
So it makes a lot of sense.
And so one of the other, I have no idea what time it is, I guess it doesn't really matter, but one of the other concepts when we were talking about information and intelligence or whatever, right? So you have, and I'm going to look at this in two different ways as quickly as possible, but you have the sum totality of what I see in front of me as far as information, right? And because of my peripheral, I know that there's stuff back here that exists that I can't see, right? But here's the sum total of all the information that my eyes have access to. My eyes are going to take in a portion of that, which means that there's a portion of what I could see that I'm not. Now, I don't know what dictates what information at this point comes in or not, right? But there's a certain portion that my eyes do not take in. Then it gets to my brain, and my brain says, I'm going to take this portion of the information that you just brought me, and I'm going to create the structure of the environment, the experience. And so you're walking in levels or degrees and octaves of here's all that's there, to the point of we get to the brain and the experience, well, here's a portion of a portion of a portion. And what dictates, well, I don't know necessarily what dictates what the eyes bring in. What does dictate what portion the brain decides to use of the eye's information is your beliefs. And more so than your beliefs is your convictions. Your beliefs are a representation of your convictions, right? And I don't think many people actually spend much time at all contemplating what are my convictions. They may spend time in the realm of, well, I believe this and I believe this, but if you watch for much time at all, any single individual, you're going to realize that what this person says they believe today goes against an action that they take tomorrow, almost inevitably all the time, if you put enough, time in there. I think that everybody ought to have this, but then why are you doing that, right? And so there's this separation between beliefs and convictions, an abyss, really, between beliefs and convictions that show that our beliefs aren't that important, right? If the beliefs play that important of a role that they're going to take the small bits of information that are actually going to create your experience is in the hands of your beliefs and your convictions. How important, how much time should one spend understanding what those convictions and beliefs are, right? In order to understand why they're seeing what they're seeing. But I mean, to even make that step, you have to accept the fact that there's far more out there than what we can touch and feel. And that's where, Freemasonry, you don't have to believe in a particular religion, you just have to believe in something greater than yourself. And there's kind of two phases to that, because I think when you say that at first, you think there's something greater than myself, right? There's something out there greater than me. But at the same time, there's something greater than myself, right? Inward, that's represented as well. And where we become a vessel through which that thing greater than ourselves can insert itself in. And so there's the internal, there's something greater than myself, or there's something greater than myself. Like, both are accurate, but we're talking about the same thing. But it's the one or the many, the one broken into many, inserted into all of life, like into every atom, really. But
it's like full circle.
Yeah. So I know we were talking about the black hole, and we got off track somehow with that. I wanted to come back because there's an important factor when it comes to ratios and numbers. Okay. So if you have your horizon and you drop down 1 unit, right, you create a black hole that's 1 unit deep. It's going to be 2 units wide, right? Because ultimately the part that's not seen is that the center line, 1 down, 1 up, 1 left, 1 right. But we're talking, and we're only witnessing the effects of time, of the fabric of time and space itself. So it dips down and creates a pull. And we're not thinking necessarily that it's spherical in nature, and that three-dimensionally speaking, it also went up 1. If it comes down 1, it goes up 1, right? But the mass, the matter, the thing, the material, the crystal, it itself is falling, while there's this representation of its potential that rises. It's not a real thing, right? Its reality is the mass that's creating the pull down in the black hole, and every unit that it moves down, it moves across 2. And as long as you're thinking two-dimensionally, especially. And so it kind of plays back into, how do you get from A to B? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, A to B is, A to B, and so it's twice. There's 2 things there, so there's 4 steps. And these are part of the patterns. And so coming back around to, again, like the purpose of the story, the purpose of this story, A Journey into the Abyss, is to be a microcosmic, in other words, something that I can look back at and point at in the future, right, to show the growth and development of something larger. And so again, we have the Rockman universe that's growing and expanding at its particular rate, frame rate. But when we compress it into conscious evolution, that frame rate's a little bit faster. And so I can show a little quicker the process that Rockman Universe is going through I can condense it into something faster in Conscious Evolution. But then I can condense it again into something that's even quicker with this story, A Journey into the Abyss. And so what A Journey into the Abyss represents is the microcosmic pattern or framework, structure, all of that is going to be and has naturally, even when I came as much possibly as unprepared as I could have last week, everything that unfolded naturally fit in, even if it wasn't to my expectations of how, it fit into the overall scheme of the purpose and intent of this story.
Thanks for watching. Join us next time on Conscious Evolution. Don't forget to subscribe.